Just a few minutes later than planned, as usual. Let's see who is first in the chat today. We will see. We will see. Oh, Logan is first today. Impressive. Nice to see you, Logan. I was making fun of you last time, trailing at the back of the pack, and today you are first. Congratulations. How are you doing? And Tora Tiger second. Shannon, after all her talk and fuss, left in the dust. Wolf Plays pops in third. Nice to see you. Yeah, good job, Logan. Good job. How are we doing today? That was the most adorable little video on Discord, Tora. I was absolutely enamored by that little guy. I watched it about 4 times. So sweet. For those of you that didn't see that earlier, but you're on Discord, just scroll up a little bit on the general chat. And Tora shared a little video of a fox cub, the cutest little thing, that's been saying hello to her uncle in the back garden. Absolutely adorable. I really recommend you checking that out. It's so sweet. Just a tiny little chubby baby fox waddling around in the back garden, but still with the little white tip that one day will become that beautiful bushy tail. Oh, and hello to Jessica as well. Welcome from down under. Nice to see you. That's really cool. I've been thinking if I could get on a little bit earlier some days, I might pick up some Australians and maybe New Zealanders and people over in the east of the world. That's really cool. I mean, it's the same if I start very late, like when I do streams sometimes at maybe 2 in the morning my time. I can pick those early risers up over in Australia and things. Oh, don't you worry, Wolf. You just hang around as long as you can. Yeah, absolutely, Tori. Yeah, it was really adorable. Much needed as well. It was really nice, though. Has a notification gone out on YouTube, by the way? It certainly should have done, but it doesn't mean it will have done. Jessica's message popping up on my screen has reminded me to refresh the chat. I'd thought about it earlier. Thought how well I'd been doing with remembering to do that, and then today I forgot about it. Ah, that's super cool, Logan. That's really nice. Half a mile from home, gosh. That's really cool. Oh, and you got the notification, Wolf. That's really cool. Alright. I never quite trust those YouTube notifications. They seem to work sometimes, they seem to not work other times, so. But I hope you've had a nice weekend. For those of you that do celebrate Easter, I hope you've had a nice Easter break, even if you've not been able to sort of enjoy the usual plans that you might enjoy on a regular year. But yeah, I hope it's been as peaceful as possible, not too stressy. My weekend has been generally very nice, so I hope you're doing good too. And welcome to MadeleineClaire as well. Lovely to see you. I saw that you'd popped in on Discord earlier, so yeah, I was hoping you'd pop into the stream as well. That's really nice. Good to see you. I wonder if anybody else is here today. We seem to be a lot quieter today than we were last week. Every stream last week had about 25, 30 or so people popping in within the first like 10 or 20 minutes. but much, much quieter today. I don't know why. It's very strange. That's why I was asking about the notification. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's just a little odd. Because, I mean, it's not an unusual day today, I don't think. I'd noticed that views were just generally down a little bit on Sunday. And I thought, well, it is Easter. Even if things are strange at the moment, people are still going to be maybe up to something and maybe not just glued to YouTube. But today, I think, is just a normal day. So, seems strange. Yeah, that's such a shame, Tora Tiger, but at least you still made something special. Yeah. That's very nice to hear. You've just got to do what you can, haven't you? When things are unusual. And it doesn't have to be stuff like with COVID-19 or whatever. It can just be other things in your life. Making stuff complicated or whatever. You just have to do your best. Yeah, maybe Logan, maybe. There's a couple more people popping in now. But yeah, it is just a little bit earlier than last week. I was actually thinking of starting even an hour earlier sometimes, but then I sort of think, yeah, this very thing might be the case. If I started 2 a.m. my time instead of 3 or 4, then you're going to be about 8 o'clock in the morning on the east coast of America. So any further west, and it's just going to get earlier and earlier and earlier. So you are sort of cutting out a few of the Fox fans over in the Canada, America, even South America kind of time zones. Oh, it was your birthday last Thursday. Yeah, it must have been really odd. Yeah. I'm still glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, thankfully you've got your family with you and everything, Madeline. But yeah, very weird. Everything has been messed about, and yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange. Those of us that can sort of carry on like normal, we're very fortunate. And those of you that are having a tough time at the moment, my best wishes to you. I should have said the same, Tora. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, and happy belated birthday to you, Madeline. And good afternoon to Wei Chen. Very nice to see you. Hello. And hello to Olivia as well. Good stuff. Nice to see you. And I would like to jump straight into some reading today. I normally like to give it at least 10 minutes just to let people come into the stream. Sometimes it becomes 30 or 40 minutes. But, yeah. About at the 10-minute mark, I would love to just get started with some James Herriot, If Only They Could Talk. And just try and keep things quite calm and relaxing today. If I do happen to get carried away with some characters or whatever, I was thinking of reading The Witches after this, so that can get a little bit silly, of course. But my plan today was to focus just on sort of a calm live stream for a couple of hours. Just take it easy. I'm not so familiar with chapter 3 of If Only They Could Talk. I thought about pre-reading it, and then I just thought, no, sometimes I actually really like, I sort of enjoy experiencing it as I go, if you know what I mean. It can be a little bit more of a natural read than if I know exactly what's coming. It might be a higher quality read if I know what's coming, but it can feel a little bit calmer in my mind sometimes if I don't. It just depends on my mood, I suppose. I think some days I really, really, really want to feel in control. But today I just felt like, no, I'll read it as it comes and keep it calm. I won't stress too much about the character voices and things like that. Just try and read it as smoothly as I can. And then let's have a couple of chapters of The Witches, and we'll just take it from there. I don't think I'll have a super long stream today, maybe about 2 hours or something like that. Last week we had a couple about 2 hours, a couple 3 hours, a little bit over, but I think I'll keep it a little bit more on the short side today, but we'll see. We'll still at least have 2 readings, which is like the minimum thing that I always want to do. So some James Herriot and then some witches, but we'll take it as it goes. Welcome to Ash Tree. Logan, you've mentioned The Stand a couple of times, I think, in Discord. I've never read it, actually. I don't think so. I've read maybe 3 or 4 Stephen King books, but I don't think The Stand is one of them. Stephen King's one of those that, yeah, I mean, like with many modern books, copyright can be a bit of an issue. On a live stream, it could work, though. I'm really not sure. And I have been saying many times I would really like to try some Stephen King. So if you are a Stephen King fan, do let me know which book would you most like to hear, whether it's The Stand or Misery or Green Mile or whichever. It'd be good to know. Rechu, you must be way over east then if it's 11:30 p.m. Welcome to the stream. Really nice to see you. Hopefully this will give you something relaxing to listen to as you're trying to get to sleep. Oh gosh, yeah, you must be exhausted if you've just finished writing a research document. Take it easy now. Hopefully you get a good night's sleep and feel refreshed for tomorrow. But good job with your paper. Sounds like you've been pretty productive. Tiny Robbins found your bird feeder, Wolf. It confused me then with the capital R. I was like, Tiny Robbins, is this a person? And then you're like, found the bird feeder. So, like, oh, okay, Tiny Robbins, as in the bird. Yeah, very cute. Very secret garden. Hello to Lynette. You seem to be wishing Madeline a happy birthday there. Nice to see you. Yeah. Oh, whose birthday is it? It's MadeleineClaire's, just a few days ago, last week. Oh, and hello to Zhu Tang as well. Hello. Nice to see you. Welcome to the stream. And hello to Laura Smith, a original Fox fan. Nice to see you. And Laurie Jacob as well. Hello. Welcome. Very nice to see you. Yeah, I think it's always nice to have the shout outs. Oh, it's Lily again. Good stuff. Nice to see you, Lily. Good stuff. Oh, and hi there to Colour Brights as well. Welcome. I hope you're having a good week so far. Oh, and Aussie Joes is here. Oh, don't worry, Joes, if you've got to go. You've got to go. But really cool that you just came in and said hello, though. I really appreciate that. Oh, does it, Wolf? Was that a bit of autocorrect? Yeah, no worries. Just confused me. My uncle is called Robin, so I think I know a couple of people in Stockholm called Robin as well, so I think my mind just automatically thinks person, even though I'm a big fan of the bird. Oh, you're both there, Laura and Lily. That's really cool. Don't know if you've been listening to James Herriot last week. I know Lily was here for some Tamaria Prince, but if you listened to Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 last week, then you know what's in store. I think it's a really lovely book, and as someone wisely said last week, even if you're not familiar with the story, this is the sort of book where you can really enjoy any chapter individually. You know, the main story is always being carried along, of course, but each chapter is kind of a little cute adventure of its own, so it's not always cute, I must say. Some of them are tough. It's very real, I think, but there's always just a certain level of warmth and coziness as well with this story. Oh, well, at least Lily's been there. I'm sure you've got your hands full, Laura. That must be pretty hectic. I hope you're doing okay, though. Ah, yeah, definitely could be, Wolf. Glad to hear it, Colour. Okay, but then let's get started. We've got a nice little bunch of you here now, and I'm sure more Fox fans will pop in as we go. Uh, just briefly writing on Discord, and then I'll fire up the book, and we can crack on. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to have a copyright chat today, Retchu. I was talking about it a little bit last week, and I've been having to deal with some sad stuff this week, as you might have seen with Narnia. And yeah, I feel the same. I know it's more complicated than that, but I feel it's very restrictive, very frustrating, very old fashioned, especially in comparison to some other industries, particularly gaming, but even music, I think. They're a little further ahead of the times. I mean, YouTube is absolutely full of people doing covers of extremely famous songs and often get their sort of big break, whether on YouTube or actually with a professional record label or whatever, through exposure on social media. And yeah, with gaming, I mean, yeah, gaming streaming is at the cutting edge. Couldn't be more popular, couldn't be more successful. Obviously, those game developers, publishers, they think it's really worth it to let people purchase that game and record themselves streaming it. You know, even if those people watching are not actually purchasing the game, there's still money to be made if you're just looking at it from a business point of view. But yeah, the book industry, the literature industry, I know it's very complicated, but for me it feels very old-fashioned and quite sad that they would rather sort of close down people that are basically spreading a passion for literature at a time where I would say that the literature industry needs it more than ever. You know, it needs that passion more than ever when there's so much competition these days. But yeah, enough copyright chat for today. Oh, and welcome to Shannon. You've made it. You've stayed up. I was worried you'd fallen asleep, but nice to see you. And yeah, don't you worry, Tora. You just get to work and have this as a little bit of background. Alright, I'm going to minimize you guys in the chat and open up If Only They Could Talk. Not Lord of the Rings, as I accidentally opened there. Okie dokie. I hope the microphone is positioned okay today. I've got it just a little differently, I think, but hopefully it's okay. It's comfortable for me, but I just hope it's not sounding a little bit thin, because I'm just sort of angled a little there, but let's give it a go. So, I hope you're doing well, wherever you are, whatever you're up to. Chat away in the chat, or just relax, have this as a bit of background if you're busy working, traveling, looking after your kids at home, whatever it is. And let's enjoy some more of James Herriot's if only they could talk. Chapter 3. The long offshoot behind the house had been the servants' quarters in grander days. Here everything was dark and narrow and poky, as if in deliberate contrast with the front. Farnan led me to the first of several doors which opened off a passage where the smell of ether and carbolic hung on the air. "This," he said, with a secret gleam in his eye as though we were about to unveil the mysteries of Aladdin's cave, "is the dispensary." The dispensary was an important place in the days before penicillin and the sulfonamides. Rows of gleaming Winchester bottles lined the white walls from floor to ceiling. I savoured the familiar names: sweet spirits of nitra, tincture of camphor, chloridine, formalin, salammoniac, hexamine, sugar of lead, liniment album, perchloride of mercury, red ballista. The lines of labels were comforting. I was an initiate among old friends. I had painfully accumulated their lore, ferreting out their secrets over the years. I knew their origins, actions, and uses, and their maddeningly varied dosage. The examiner's voice: "And what is the dose for the horse, and the cow, and the sheep, and the pig, and the dog, and the cat?" These shelves held the vet's entire armoury against disease, and on a bench under the window I could see the instruments for compounding them, the graduated vessels and beakers, the mortars and pestles, and underneath, in an open cupboard, the medicine bottles, piles of corks of all sizes, pill boxes, powder papers. As we moved around, Farnan's manner became more and more animated. His eyes glittered and he talked rapidly. Often he reached up and caressed a Winchester on its shelf, or he would lift out a horse ball or an electry from its box, give it a friendly pat, and replace it with tenderness. "Look at this stuff, Herriot!" he shouted without warning. "Ardravan! This is the remedy par excellence for redworms in horses. A bit expensive, mind you, 10 bob a packet. And these gentian violet pessaries, if you shove one of these into a cow's uterus after a dirty cleansing, it turns the discharges a very pretty colour. Really looks as though it's doing something. And have you seen this trick?" He placed a few crystals of resublimated iodine on a glass dish and added a drop of turpentine. Nothing happened for a second. Then a dense cloud of purple smoke rolled heavily to the ceiling. He gave a great bellow of laughter at my startled face. "Like witchcraft, isn't it? I use it for wounds in horses' feet. The chemical reaction drives the iodine deep into the tissues." "It does?" "Well, I don't know, but that's the theory. And anyway, you must admit it looks wonderful. Impresses the toughest client." Some of the bottles on the shelves fell short of the ethical standards I had learned in college, like the one labelled Colic Drench, and featuring a floridly drawn picture of a horse rolling in agony. The animal's face was turned outwards and wore an expression of very human anguish. Another bore the legend, "Universal Cattle Medicine," in ornate script. A sovereign remedy for coughs, chills, scours, pneumonia, milk fever, gargut, and all forms of indigestion. At the bottom of the label, in flaring black capitals, was the assurance, "Never fails to give relief." Farnan had something to say about most of the drugs. Each one had its place in his 5 years' experience of practice. They all had their fascination, their individual mystique. Many of the bottles were beautifully shaped, with heavy glass stoppers and their Latin names cut deeply into their sides. Names familiar to physicians for centuries, gathering fables through the years. The two of us stood gazing at the gleaming rows, without any idea that it was nearly all useless, and that the days of the old medicines were nearly over. Soon they would be hustled into oblivion by the headlong rush of the new discoveries, and they would never return. "This is where we keep the instruments." Farnan showed me into another little room. The small animal equipment lay on green beige shelves, very neat and impressively clean. Hypodermic syringes, whelping forceps, tooth scalers, probes, searchers, and in a place of prominence, an ophthalmoscope. Farnan lifted it lovingly from its black box. "My latest purchase," he murmured, stroking its smooth shaft. "Wonderful thing. Here, have a peep at my retina." I switched on the bulb and gazed with interest at the glistening coloured tapestry in the depths of his eye. "Very pretty. I could write you a certificate of soundness." He laughed and thumped my shoulder. "Good. I'm glad to hear it. I always fancied I had a touch of cataract in that one." He began to show me the large animal instruments, which hung from hooks on the walls. Docking and firing irons, bloodless castrators, emasculators, casting ropes and hobbles, carving ropes and hooks. A new silvery embryotomy hung in the place of honour, but many of the instruments, like the drugs, were museum pieces. Particularly the blood stick and phlegm, a relic of medieval times, but still used to bring the rich blood spouting into a bucket. "You still can't beat it for lemonitis," Farnan declared seriously. We finished up in the operating room with its bare white walls, high table, oxygen and ether anaesthetic outfit, and a small sterilizer. "Not much small animal work in this district." Farnan smoothed the table with his palm. "But I'm trying to encourage it. It makes a pleasant change from lying on your belly in a cowhouse. The thing is, we've got to do the job right. The old castor oil and prussic acid doctrine is no good at all. You probably know that a lot of the old hands won't look at a dog or a cat. But the profession has got to change its ideas." He went over to a cupboard in the corner and opened the door. I could see glass shelves with a few scalpels, artery forceps, suture needles, and bottles of catgut in spirit. He took out his handkerchief and flicked an oroscope before closing the doors carefully. "Well, what do you think of it all?" he asked as he went out into the passage. "Great," I replied. "You've got just about everything you need here. I'm really impressed." He seemed to swell visibly. The thin cheeks flushed, and he hummed softly to himself. Then he burst loudly into song in a shaky baritone, keeping time with our steps as we marched along. Back in the sitting room, I told him about Bert Sharp. Something about boring out a cow which was going on 3 cylinders. He talked about her ewer and felon. I didn't quite get it. Farnan laughed. "I think I can translate. He wants a Hudson's operation doing on a blocked teat. Ewer is the udder, and felon the local term for mastitis." "Well, thanks. And there was a deaf Irishman, a Mr. Mulligan." "Wait a moment. Wait a minute. Farnan held up a hand. Let me guess. Wommatin? Hi, Wommatin bad sore. Right. I'll put up another pint of bismuth cart for him. I'm in favour of long-range treatment for this dog. He looks like an Airedale, but is big as a donkey and has a moody disposition. He's had Joe Mulligan on the floor a few times. Just gets him down and worries him when he's got nothing better to do. But Joe loves him. How about the wommatin? Doesn't mean a thing. Natural reaction from eating every bit of rubbish he finds. Well, we'd better get out to Sharp's. And there are 1 or 2 other visits. How about coming with me and I'll show you a bit of the district? Outside the house, Farnan motioned me towards a battered hillman, and as I moved round to the passenger's side, I shot a startled glance at the treadless tyres, the rusty bodywork, the almost opaque windscreen with its network of fine cracks. What I didn't notice was that the passenger seat was not fixed to the floor but stood freely on its sledge-like runners. I dropped into it and went over backwards, finishing with my head on the rear seat and my feet against the roof. Farnan helped me up, apologising with great charm, and we set off. Once clear of the marketplace, the road dipped quite suddenly, and we could see all of the dale stretching away from us in the evening sunshine. The outlines of the great hills were softened in the gentle light, and a broken streak of silver showed where the Darrow wandered on the valley floor. Farnan was an unorthodox driver. Apparently captivated by the scene, he drove slowly down the hill, elbows resting on the wheel, his chin cupped in his hands. At the bottom of the hill, he came out of his reverie and spurted to 70 miles an hour. The old car rocked crazily along the narrow road, and my movable seat slewed from side to side as I jammed my feet against the floorboards. Then he slammed on the brakes, pointed out some pedigree shorthorns in a field, and jolted away again. He never looked at the road in front. All his attention was on the countryside around and behind him. It was that last bit that worried me, because he spent a lot of time driving fast and looking over his shoulder at the same time. We left the road at last, and made our way up a gated lane. My years of seeing practice had taught me to hop in and out very smartly, as students were regarded primarily as gate-opening machines. Farnan, however, thanked me gravely every time, and once I got over my surprise, I found it refreshing. We drew up in a farmyard. "Lame horse here," Farnan said. A strapping Clydesdale gelding was brought out, and we watched attentively as the farmer trotted him up and down. "Which leg do you make it?" my colleague asked. "Near 4? Yes, I think so too. Like to examine it?" I put my hand on the foot, feeling how much hotter it was than the other. I called for a hammer and tapped the wall of the hoof. The horse flinched, raised the foot, and held it trembling for a few seconds, before replacing it carefully on the ground. "Looks like pus in the foot to me." "I'll bet you're right," Farnan said. "They call it gravel round here, by the way. What do you suggest we do about it?" "Open up the sole and evacuate the pus." "Right." He held out a hoof knife. "I'll watch your technique." With the uncomfortable feeling that I was on trial, I took the knife, lifted the foot, and tucked it between my knees. I knew what I had to do. Find the dark mark on the sole where the infection had entered, and follow it down till I reached the pus. I scraped away the caked dirt, and found not one, but several marks. After more tapping to find the painful area, I selected a likely spot and started to cut. The horn seemed as hard as marble, and only the thinnest little shaving came away with each twist of the knife. The horse, too, appeared to appreciate having his sore foot lifted off the ground, and gratefully leaned his full weight on my back. He hadn't been so comfortable all day. I groaned and dug him in the ribs with my elbow, and though it made him change his position for a second, he was soon leaning on again. The mark was growing fainter, and after a final gouge with the knife, it disappeared altogether. I swore quietly, and started on another mark. With my back at breaking point and the sweat trickling into my eyes, I knew that if this one petered out too, I would have to let the foot go and take a rest. And with Farnan's eye on me, I didn't want to do that. Agonizingly, I hacked away, and, as the hole deepened, my knees began an uncontrollable trembling. The horse rested happily, his 1,500 weight cradled by this thoughtful human. I was wondering how it would look when I finally fell flat on my face, when, under the knife blade, I saw a thin spurt of pus, followed by a steady trickle. "There it goes," the farmer grunted. "He'll get relief now." I enlarged the drainage hole and dropped the foot. It took me a long time to straighten up, and when I stepped back, my shirt clung to my back. "Well done, Herriot!" Farnan took the knife from me and slipped it into his pocket. "It just isn't funny when the horn is as hard as that." He gave the horse a shot of tetanus antitoxin, then turned to the farmer. "I wonder if you'd hold up the foot for a second while I disinfect the cavity." The stocky little man gripped the foot between his knees and looked down with interest as Farnan filled the hole with iodine crystals and added some turpentine. Then he disappeared behind a billowing purple curtain. I watched, fascinated, as the thick pall mounted and spread. I could locate the little man only by the spluttering noises from somewhere in the middle. As the smoke began to clear, a pair of round, startled eyes came into view. "By God, Mr. Farnan, I wondered what the hell had happened for a minute," the farmer said between coughs. He looked down again at the blackened hole in the hoof and spoke reverently. "Ugh, it's wonderful what science can do nowadays." We did 2 more visits. One to a calf with a cut leg which I stitched, dressed and bandaged, then to the cow with the blocked teat. Mr. Sharp was waiting, still looking eager. He led us into the byre, and Farnan gestured towards the cow. "See what you can make of it." I squatted down and palpated the teat, feeling the mass of thickened tissue half up. It would have to be broken down by a Hudson's instrument, and I began to work the thin metal spiral up the teat. 1 second later, I was sitting gasping in the dung channel, with the neat imprint of a cloven hoof on my shirt front, just over the solar plexus. It was embarrassing, but there was nothing I could do but sit there fighting for breath, my mouth opening and shutting like a stranded fish. Mr. Sharp held his hand over his mouth, his innate politeness at war with his natural amusement at seeing the vet come to grief. "I'm sorry, young man, but I ought to have told you that this is a very friendly cow. She always likes to shake hands." Then, overcome by his own wit, he rested his forehead on the cow's back and went into a long paroxysm of silent mirth. I took my time to recover, then rose with dignity from the channel. With Mr. Sharp holding the nose and Farnan lifting up the tail, I managed to get the instrument past the fibrous mass, and by a few downward tugs, I cleared the obstruction. But, though the precautions cramped the cow's style a little, she still got in several telling blows on my arms and legs. When it was over, the farmer grasped the teat and sent a long white jet frothing on the floor. Capital! She's going on 4 cylinders now! That was the end of the chapter. This PDF reader, like I mentioned before, it always catches me off guard. It's very hard to tell when the end of the chapter is coming up. It's a nice finish that I felt like I rushed it a little, because I didn't realise it was the last line. But now we understand that 3 cylinders is just the 3 of the 4 teats in operation. Nothing to do with cars or anything else. But now she's on 4. I do like that finish. When it was over, the farmer grasped the teat and sent a long white jet frothing on the floor. Capital! She's going on 4 cylinders now! Good stuff. A nice chapter, I think. A nice chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. It's quite a tough one to read, this, actually. Like I said before I started, I decided, maybe against better judgment, not to pre-read this chapter. I was already familiar with the first 2, and then this one I thought, but I'll just see how it comes naturally and everything. But that was actually quite tricky. Excuse me. An incredible amount of scientific, medical terminology, and yeah, some sort of tricky dialogue, tricky scenes, and like I've said, this PDF viewer, it gets the job done, but it's really not the best. Like the gaps between paragraphs are all the same, so it's really, really difficult to know if we're moving on to a different section or if it's just a different paragraph within the same scene, if you know what I'm trying to say. So like when you're finishing up with the horse in that first scene, you get the same break on screen in the ebook viewer as you do just with any other paragraph. So I didn't actually realize that we were then finishing that scene and moving on to a new one. If I did, I would have just put a little bit more emphasis, taken my time a little bit more with those last couple of sentences from the end of the paragraph, and just taken like a little bit more of a gap before jumping into the next. But you know, this is very natural, raw, live reading. You're just getting it as it comes to me. I hope it's still nice to read, even if it's nowhere near as polished as my regular videos, or maybe even as well read as some of my other live readings. It's quite a tricky one. Quite a tricky one. But let me just rewind in the chat. Nice to see a couple more names popping in as well. Let me just see where I was in the chat before I jumped into the reading. There was Shannon saying hello. There was Olivia half asleep. Christina was popping in. Nice to see you. Hello, hello, hello. You're always welcome. Very nice to see you. And then Teresa popped in as well. Good stuff. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it today, Teresa, but nice to see you. Yeah, we're really spread all over the place today. It's fantastic. From, I wonder who's the furthest west. But we've got some in Canada, some in the US. Not sure if there's anybody in South America today. And then all the way over to Australia and countries in between. Really fantastic. Logan joking about a bit of weather chat. Lily's missing Harry Potter. I understand that. Olivia helping Teresa. Anybody that I've missed? Don't think so. Yeah, the car ride was good fun. I liked it. Oh yeah, this is super suitable for a 10-year-old, by the way, Lily. I was a little bit late there. Maybe somebody answered your question. Yeah, I mean, it's a little gory, but in my opinion, it's absolutely appropriate for a 10-year-old. I don't think there's anything too nasty, and it's just a lovely story about veterinary life, countryside life, 70, 80 years ago or so. Logan's corn dog is ready. Good times. Oh, and Lauren had popped in as well. Hello. Welcome. Nice to see you. Oh, and Jake's Great Adventures as well. So there was a couple that I'd missed. Hello to you both. Yeah, I was making a few mistakes here, and yeah, I didn't think my delivery was the best there, but like I said, I'd not pre-read it. I thought it was just nice to read it naturally, and the focus just on hopefully a relaxing reading. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect when I'm reading live. That's the nice thing about live reading. I know, like mentally, I know it can't be anything like my regular recorded, edited readings. So I just do my best. Some things I think I read pretty well live. I'm quite proud of some, and then some I'm like, oh, that was tough. You know, I could have done better there, but that's live for you. You know, sometimes you really nail it. Sometimes you find it difficult, but as long as you lot are enjoying it, that's all that matters. And welcome to Melissa on Facebook. Nice to see you. Glad this is adding a little bit of calm to a chaotic day. Yeah, there's a lot of you homeschooling at the moment, I'm sure. Oh, Katie Bug's here from Northwest USA. So yeah, we're really stretching across the whole globe there, from Northwest US to Australia. That's really nice. And we got a little roll call here. Oh, Lorraine, you're in Brazil. Right, so we do have some South American representation today. Awesome. Wei Chen in the UK, and welcome to Alan Bukowski as well. Nice to see you. Welcome. Arizona. Laurie's East Coast US. Christina, New Jersey. So East Coast. Teresa, Ontario. Yeah, Shannon's over on the East as well. And Wei Chen, Taiwanese in the UK. Very cool. Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Olivia. And it's a real favourite of yours by the sounds of it. That's fantastic. I was really pleasantly surprised last week, actually, how many of you were familiar with James Herriot. It's one of those books. I think it's really underrated. I've come across a lot of people that don't know it, but then sometimes it's it was like in the newspaper back in the UK last week. My Mama Fox was sharing me a little article about it. And obviously there's that wonderful TV show as well, so it's probably more popular than I sort of give it credit for. Yeah, it's a lovely story. Got New England from for Laurie. Tang in Hong Kong, really awesome. Yeah, Logan's Pennsylvania, Laura in the UK, of course. Olivia's southwest-ish. Oh, and Wolf, you're in Scotland. Yeah, I forget that. You've mentioned that before. I'm sure. Yeah, Katie getting the roll call. And Madeline back home in Switzerland. Oh, glad you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, do go back and watch the streams from last week. Tuesdays and Wednesdays stream, the first one and the second one, if you'd like to listen to chapter 1 and chapter 2 of If Only They Could Talk. Good stuff. Oh, you're missing Dracula as well. Katie Bug will be pleased to hear that. You've been missing that forever. Oh, and you and then a different Katie, you're UK in Taiwan. That is funny. Really cool. Taura's, yeah, from down south but trapped up north. Shannon's buffering. Should be working fine from what I can see on my end. So hopefully there's no problems there. Okay. Question time for those of you in today's stream, and thank you to all for being here. I massively appreciate it. And welcome to Holly as well, reminding me that we're missing Dracula. I need to get back on with that as soon as possible. I've just been prioritizing the streams. I was finishing some things off with the Lord of the Rings. I was making the complete part 1 and part 2 for book 2, and I have started fiddling around with some songs of Middle Earth for book 2 as well. I'm just not sure how best to present it this time. I don't know whether to just present it like I did last time. So I'm talking about the special Songs of Middle Earth video that I did for book 1 of The Lord of the Rings. And I had a short extract of the narration to set the context, the song, and a little bit of closing narration for all of the songs. And I'm not sure whether to do the same again or whether to just have the songs, or whether to do the same again and maybe have a couple of individual videos just for a couple of particularly special songs. So like I could have maybe a video for Frodo's song, maybe a video for Gimli's song, and maybe a video for one or both of Galadriel's songs, for example. So I'm just trying to figure out how best to do it. I think I'll probably go with that last idea. So make the video the same as last time, but for book 2, and then do a couple of extra, like separate standalone videos just of the song, of like a couple of the favorites. But I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. If you've listened to the first Songs of Middle Earth video, then you've probably got the best idea of what I'm talking about. But even if you haven't and you've listened to book 1 and book 2, then you can still share your thoughts on that. So that was the first question of question time. Second question was, do I read another chapter of James Herriot so we can have chapter 4 of If Only They Could Talk? Or do we have chapters 7 and 8 of The Witches? And if I feel like I've got the energy and the time, because I do have some evening plans this evening. It's a lovely sunny day as well. So, I'm still going to stream for a couple of hours like I always do as a minimum. But if I've got the energy, I will do a couple of chapters of The Witches and another chapter of James Herriot. But if I'm only going to do one, because I'm never quite sure how I'm just going to feel in the moment, shall we have another chapter of If Only They Could Talk straight away? Or should we have a couple of chapters of The Witches? So that was question 2. Yeah, I might have a little sing-along, Shannon. I was just thinking of doing the troll song from book 1 of Lord of the Rings, Sam's troll song. It's one that's quite commonly mentioned in the comments, you see. So I was like sort of singing it to myself this morning, and just listening back to it, and I thought I might mess about in the stream. I'll see how I feel. Yeah, I did a Tom Bombadil song in the last stream, Ju Tang. So if you want to have a listen, go check that out. And Shannon's been absolutely fantastic with the timestamps. You've always been good with the timestamps, Shannon. I really appreciate it. And you've been extra good these last few streams. Really, really, really kind of you to do that. So if you go back to the 4th stream of last week, you'll see it in the name, the video name, a little number 4. And you use Shannon's timestamps that's in the pinned comment and in the video description. You can click into that little song time that we had in the middle of that last stream. And I just played around with 3 or 4 of them from the Lord of the Rings. It was nice. But yeah, you're saying that a bit of context is nice. I thought that worked. I just wasn't sure. No one really mentioned that in the comments, that they liked the context or didn't like the context. I didn't have any negative comments on it. So I was just kind of curious, really. Because a few people have been commenting on the songs this time and asking if I'm going to make a complete video of all the songs. And yeah, I just didn't know if some people would prefer it literally just song, gap, song, gap, song, gap. But I do like the context, and it is an audiobook at the end of the day, so I think the narration is valuable. And it adds, like I'm saying, it adds context, which I think is important with the songs. Because Out of Place, I mean, they're nice, but some people really don't get the songs or the poems. And when reading it on your own without a narrator, I totally understand that it can be quite sort of difficult to absorb them. You know, okay, what's Tolkien trying to say here? What's the value of this poem? But hopefully, if it's brought to life a little, and juxtaposed with the context within the story, like why the character is singing about whatever they're singing about, I think it adds a little bit of value to it. But equally, like I said, I think a couple of the songs, they really stand out very well in isolation as well. So I think Maria's efforts as Galadriel particularly could stand out very well purely as a song. And I think Gimli's and Frodo's too, maybe. So I'll have a play around with it. Hmm. Yeah, I might mess around with that, Logan. It's a really fun one, the troll song. Yeah, we'll be having some prints this week, Teresa, just not today. I'd got a plan. So you just have to trust me on that one. Ah, right. Yeah, you're picking Dracula. Yeah, I won't be reading Dracula in the live streams. I'll save that for the polished regular videos. I really like how I'm presenting that with the music and the rustling of the pages. So it's sort of that raw reading style that I used for The Secret Garden, but just a little more polished. It is edited quite thoroughly, but I want it to have the feeling that it's really just as raw as possible and being read from the book. But yeah, there's quite a lot of polish there under the surface. So I'll be definitely getting back on with Dracula, but that won't be coming in the live streams. It seems like there was a couple of votes for The Witches, though. Both Lily and Wei Chen. Not sure if I got a vote for James Herriot. So last call. Any preference between another chapter of If Only They Could Talk or a couple of chapters of The Witches? Currently, The Witches is winning, it seems, and we were on one heck of a cliffhanger. It's got to be said. Just finding my place. Yeah, here we were. Don't you worry, Lauren. Good luck with work, and thanks so much for joining. Very nice to have you here. Kate is saying witches. Shannon doesn't mind. Tora doesn't mind. Lily's saying witches. Thank you, Wolf. There was a very good chance I would forget. Logan doesn't mind, but with a little bit of a lean in for witches. Christina, they only vote so far for Herriot. Okay, then I will go for a couple of, and Madeline doesn't mind, I'll go for a couple of chapters of The Witches, and then if I've still got a little bit of energy, we can have another chapter of James Herriot anyway. So let me change the text. I spelt Roald Dahl wrong last time. I didn't notice until after the stream. I was too focused on just getting on with the reading. And I'm not very good at leaning into the laptop like this. Got me doubting myself now, but I think it was literally just pressing the wrong buttons last time. So we are 7 and 8. I'm pretty sure. 1 to 6. All right. All right. Good stuff. All right. All right. Yeah, we might be able to have some more James Herriot as well, Olivia. But I know you've been enjoying Witches, which is lovely. Lovely stuff. Foxy, Foxy Book Club. I was so tempted to have a look at the troll song. Oops, how on earth did I manage that? Somehow managed to drag the text box. Very silly. Very silly indeed. That'll do. Alright, let's get on with some witches. I'll save some potential troll song for later. We're making some good progress with the witches as well. With us having it 3 times last week, we're making some good progress. Okie dokie. It's really warm in the apartment today. I can't have windows open because it's so noisy out here. I'm right on a main road. Not cool. And that's just something that I can't live with, like having that interrupting the stream and my brain. But I think it's going to be really warm in here this summer. I mean, today the sun is shining. I think the air temperature is about 14 degrees, something like that. So it's nothing ridiculous at all. But yeah, 14 degrees. But the apartment faces the sun for most of the day, so I'm guessing, the wall is soaking up some heat there. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried about what it's going to be like come June, July, August. I think it's going to get a wee bit toasty. But we'll see, because I'm just thinking, like, if I'm sat here overheating slightly in April, what is going to happen in the summer? The apartment where I was starting off the Red Fox book clubs, that little loft apartment that I mentioned with the squeaky chair, oh my goodness, that got warm. It was absolutely horrendous. There was only one tiny window, and I had to have it closed anyway when I was recording. It was horrendous. It was just like a sauna, seriously. So we'll see what this one's like. Always grumbling, Shannon. Always grumbling. Yeah, it's been blustery here as well, actually, Wolf. But with the windows closed and the sun beating on the wall, I'm not feeling it. Okay, so let's continue with some of Roald Dahl's The Witches. Get comfortable. Me included. Oh, goodness me, that's bonkers, Madeline. Not normal. Should not be 26 degrees in Switzerland in April. That is absolutely bonkers. 99% bug. I couldn't deal with that, Christina. Yeah, we don't have AC in Sweden, really. Like, you get it here and there, but not in apartments. I'm sure in some well-to-do apartments, but it's extremely unusual. It would be probably a little bit too noisy for recording, but for a live stream it would be okay if it was just like a gentle hum. But it's extremely unusual here. But as the weather is getting warmer, the climate is getting warmer, who knows, things might change. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Logan. I couldn't do it on a regular recording. It has to be. You wouldn't believe how silent I try and have things when I'm doing the regular recordings. You know, with the live stream, it's a little different, and I can't remove this white noise that picks up when I'm streaming, and the audio quality is a bit worse when I'm streaming also. But on those sort of polished, more professional recordings, like with Lord of the Rings and everything else, it needs to be absolutely silent, and not just silent, but as soundproofed as possible, so that you get a nice, warm, rich sound. Chapter 7. This is where we left the boy, peeking through the screen. All the women, or rather the witches, were now sitting motionless in their chairs and staring as though hypnotized at somebody who had suddenly appeared on the platform. That somebody was another woman. The first thing I noticed about this woman was her size. She was tiny, probably no more than 4.5 feet tall. She looked quite young, I guessed about 25 or 6, and she was very pretty. She had on a rather stylish long black dress that reached right to the ground, and she wore black gloves that came up to her elbows. Unlike the others, she wasn't wearing a hat. She didn't look to me like a witch at all, but she couldn't possibly not be one. Otherwise, what on earth was she doing up there on the platform? And why, for heaven's sake, were all the other witches gazing at her with such a mixture of adoration, awe, and fear? Very slowly, trying to quickly show you the lady. The young lady on the platform raised her hands to her face. I saw her gloved fingers unhooking something behind her ears, and then she caught hold of her cheeks and lifted her face clean away. The whole of that pretty face came away in her hands. It was a mask. As she took off the mask, she turned sideways and placed it carefully upon a small table nearby. And when she turned round again and faced us, I very nearly screamed out loud. That face of hers was the most frightful and frightening thing I have ever seen. Just looking at it gave me the shakes all over. It was so crumpled and wizened, so shrunken and shriveled, it looked as though it had been pickled in vinegar. It was a fearsome and ghastly sight. There was something terribly wrong with it, something foul and putrid and decayed. It seemed quite literally to be rotting away at the edges, and in the middle of the face, around the mouth and cheeks, I could see the skin all cankered and worm-eaten, as though maggots were working away in there. There are times when something is so frightful you become mesmerized by it and can't look away. I was like that now. I was transfixed. I was numbed. I was magnetized by the sheer horror of this woman's features. But there was more to it than that. There was a look of serpents in those eyes of hers as they flashed around the audience. I knew immediately, of course, that this was none other than the Grand High Witch herself. I knew also why she had worn a mask. She could never have moved around in public, let alone buck in at a hotel, with her real face. Everyone who saw her would have run away screaming. There she is. Ghastly. "The doors!" shouted the Grand High Witch in a voice that filled the room and bounced around the walls. "Are they chained and bolted?" "The doors are chained and bolted, your grandness," answered a voice in the audience. The brilliant snake's eyes that were set so deep in that dreadful, rotting, worm-eaten face glared unblinkingly at the witches who sat facing her. "You may remove your gloves," she shouted. Her voice, I noticed, had that same hard, metallic quality as the voice of the witch I'd met under the conker tree, only it was far louder and much, much harsher. It rasped, it grated, it snarled, it scraped, it shrieked, and it growled. Everyone in the room was peeling off her gloves. I was watching the hands of those in the back row. I wanted very much to see what their fingers looked like and whether my grandmother had been right. Ah, yes, I could see several of them now. I could see the brown claws curving over the tips of the fingers. They were about 2 inches long, those claws, and sharp at the ends. "You may remove your shoes," barked the Grand High Witch. I heard a sigh of relief going up from all the witches in the room as they kicked off their narrow, high-heeled shoes. And then I got a glimpse under the chairs of several pairs of stockinged feet, square and completely toeless. Revolting they were, as though the toes had been sliced away from the feet with a carving knife. "You may remove your wigs," snarled the Grand High Witch. She had a peculiar way of speaking. There was some sort of a foreign accent there, something harsh and guttural, and she seemed to have trouble pronouncing the letter W. As well as that, she did something funny with the letter R. She would roll it round and round her mouth like a piece of hot pork crackling before spitting it out. "Remove your wigs and get some fresh air into your spotty scalps," she shouted, and another sigh of relief arose from the audience as all the hands went up to their heads, and all the wigs, with the hats still on them, were lifted away. There now appeared in front of me row upon row of bald female heads, A sea of naked scalps, every one of them red and itchy looking from being rubbed by the lining of the wigs. I simply cannot tell you how awful they were, and somehow the whole sight was made more grotesque because underneath those frightful, scabby, bald heads, the bodies were dressed in fashionable and rather pretty clothes. It was monstrous. It was unnatural. Oh, heavens! I thought, oh, help! Oh, Lord, have mercy on me! These foul, bald-headed females are child killers, every one of them, and here I am imprisoned in the same room, and I can't escape. At that point, a new and doubly horrifying thought struck me. My grandmother had said that with their special nose holes, they could smell out a child on a pitch-black night from right across the other side of the road. Up to now, my grandmother had been right every time. It seemed a certainty, therefore, that one of the witches in the back row was going to sniff me out at any moment, and then the yell of "Dog's droppings!" would go up all over the room, and I would be cornered like a rat. I knelt on the carpet behind the screen, hardly daring to breathe. Then suddenly, I remembered another very important thing my grandmother had told me. The dirtier you are, she had said, the harder it is for a witch to smell you out. How long since I had last had a bath? Not for ages. I had my own room in the hotel, and my grandmother never bothered with silly things like that. Come to think of it, I don't believe I'd had a bath since we arrived. When had I last washed my hands or face? Certainly not this morning. Not yesterday either. I glanced down at my hands. They were covered with smudge and mud and goodness knows what else besides. So perhaps I had a chance after all. The stink waves couldn't possibly get out through all that dirt. "Witches of England!" shouted the Grand High Witch. She herself, I noticed, had not taken off either her wig or her gloves or her shoes. "Witches of England!" she yelled. The audience stirred uneasily and sat up straighter in their chairs. "Miserable witches!" she yelled. "Useless, lazy witches! Feeble, fribbling witches! You are a heap of idle, good-for-nothing worms!" A shudder went through the audience. The Grand High Witch was clearly in an ugly mood, and they knew it. I had a feeling that something awful was going to happen soon. "I am having my breakfast this morning," cried the Grand High Witch, "and I am looking out of the window at the beach, and what am I seeing? I am asking you, what am I seeing?"
I am seeing a revolting sight. I am seeing hundreds. I am seeing thousands of rotten, repulsive little children playing up on the sand. It is putting me right off my food. Why have you not got rid of them? She screamed. Why have you not rubbed them all out, these filthy, smelly children?
With each word she spoke, flecks of pale blue phlegm shot from her mouth like bullets.
I am asking you why, she screamed.
Nobody answered her question.
Children smell, she screamed. They stink out the world. We do not want these children around here.
The bald heads in the audience all nodded vigorously.
One child a week is no good to me, the Grand High Witch cried out. Is that the best you can do?
We will do better, murmured the audience. We will do much better.
Better is no good either, shrieked the Grand High Witch. I demand maximum results. So here are my orders. My orders are that every single child in this country shall be rubbed out, squashed, squirted, squitted, and frittered out before I come here again in 1 year's time. Do I make myself clear?
A great gasp went up from the audience. I saw the witches all looking at one another with deeply troubled expressions, and I heard one witch at the end of the front row saying aloud, "All of them! We can't possibly wipe out all of them!" The Grand High Witch whipped round as though someone had stuck a skewer into her bottom.
Who said that? She snapped. Who dares to argue with me? It was you, was it not?
She pointed a gloved finger as sharp as a needle at the witch who had spoken. "I didn't mean it, your grandness," the witch cried out. "I didn't mean to argue. I was just talking to myself."
You dare to argue with me? Screamed the Grand High Witch.
"I was just talking to myself," cried the wretched witch. "I swear it. Your grandness!" She began to shake with fear. The Grand High Witch took a quick step forward, and when she spoke again, it was in a voice that made my blood run cold. "Hey, stupid witch who answers back must burn until bones are black," she screamed. "No, no," begged the witch in the front row. The Grand High Witch went on.
A foolish witch without a brain must sizzle in the fiery flame.
Save me! cried the wretched witch in the front row. The Grand High Witch took no notice of her. She spoke again.
An idiotic witch like you must roast upon the barbecue.
Forgive me, oh, your grandness, cried the miserable culprit. I didn't mean it. But the Grand High Witch continued with her terrible recital.
A witch who dares to say I'm wrong will not be with us very long.
A moment later, a stream of sparks that looked like tiny white-hot metal filings came shooting out of the Grand High Witch's eyes and flew straight towards the one who had dared to speak. I saw the sparks striking against her and burrowing into her, and she screamed a horrible, howling scream, and a puff of smoke rose up around her. A smell of burning meat filled the room. Nobody moved. Like me, they were all watching the smoke. And when it had cleared away, the chair was empty. I caught a glimpse of something wispy white, like a little cloud, fluttering upwards and disappearing out of the window. A great sigh rose up from the audience. The Grand High Witch glared around the room.
I hope nobody else is going to make me cross today,
she remarked. There was a deathly silence.
Frizzled like a fritter,
said the Grand High Witch.
Cooked like a carrot. You will never see her again. Now, we can get down to business.
And that was the end of chapter 7. Trying to get this picture to focus, but it won't focus. But this is the sizzled witch. Nothing left but a puff of smoke.
And here is the Grand High Witch casting her spell. She is a very unpleasant character, no? I would not like to mess with her.
Good, Shannon, that's the whole point.
There is nothing more scary than the Grand High Witch of all the world. Even Voldemort would not stand a chance against the might of the Grand High Witch.
I'm sorry to see you go too, Anki Anka. I saw you pop in just at the start of the reading, actually. I was reading the chat as I was reading the book. Or a little bit here and there, anyway. I saw the fear of Shannon, Teresa advising me to have a drink of water, and I saw Anki Anka popping in as well. Have a good day. Thanks very much. Thanks, Olivia. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure that the balancing on my microphone was absolutely awful there. I'm sure that my screams and screeches were going way off the chat and off the chart, sorry, and clipping as we call it, so like kind of breaking the audio a little bit. You know, like when I'm recording normally, I can adjust the volume or the pickup, like how much sound the microphone brings in, and distance myself a little bit better and be a bit more controlled and not scream so much and things like that. But I was just having fun with it, and I thought you would enjoy it. So I'm sorry if it was tearing your eardrums out or if it was distorting a bit with the microphone struggling to pick up that very loud volume. Thanks very much, Anki Anka. And thank you, Wolf. Thank you, Mama Fox. Thanks, Logan. Really glad you're enjoying it, peeps. And what did I see there? What did I see? I spotted something else. I thought it would be even worse with earbuds in, Katie. I'm glad to hear it wasn't too bad. Oh, it was Colour Brights saying you mustn't say his name. I think we're past that, right? Like, Harry and various others are pushing that we shouldn't be scared to say the name. Dumbledore, for example, he always says Voldemort, doesn't he? He doesn't say he who shall not be named. I think it's easier to say Voldemort as well. Less of a tongue twister. But that was good fun. And you don't need to worry about my vocal cords, Shannon. I do this kind of silliness all the time. Thanks very much. Joyce, thanks very much. Glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, like, there's certain characters that are rough on the vocal cords, obviously. Like I've said, Hagrid is quite a tough one, and there's other ones that are a little bit tough on the vocal cords. But it's all part of the fun. It's all part of the fun. You've got to get into it. And I was trying to change her voice quite a bit as well, because Roald Dahl describes that her voice is many things. It's not just growling or shrieking or grating or rasping. It's a mix of all these different things. So I can imagine that it sounds very supernatural and is sort of undulating between screeching and roaring and everything in between. And this sort of metallic sound obviously is hard to replicate. There's probably something magical and supernatural there, but yeah, I think we got the message. Yeah, and I saw someone, Savage Production, mentioning why is Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe private. Yeah, I've posted about that yesterday on the YouTube community and on Patreon and on Discord, explaining that. And at the current moment in time, at least, I still have parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe available, but the complete audiobook was the thing that they were focusing on. So we'll see how things go there. But it was the complete audiobook that was very popular and bringing in a tremendous amount of views. It's been getting a couple of thousand views a day, actually, for a little while, which is very, very good for an audiobook channel. It's very high. It was about even with The Fellowship of the Ring Book 1 for a time. They were both about 2,000 a day, and then Secret Garden fluctuates around 1,000 plus. But anyway, yeah, that complete one, which has been very, 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 very popular, has had to be removed, unfortunately. So you can read more about it if you go to the community tab on my channel. I was posting on Facebook about it as well. Yeah, not fun. Wolf was saying, "Where is Inkland?" Yeah, that's obviously her way of trying to say England, but struggling with some letters.
Remove your figs.
Just sort of Shannon's comment there. Yeah, but the vet stories are lovely, but they are quite difficult to read live. Like I said, it's quite complex, and like I said, with me not pre-reading that third one, that third chapter, it made it extra difficult as well. So it might be wise if I pre-read the fourth one, at least skim it through, so I've got a rough idea if there's particularly tricky things or whatever. But also, like I'd said before I started that reading, the focus today was just to have it as like a soothing, calm, relaxing, introductory reading, and not worrying too much about high precision, professional reading, all perfect and everything, you know. We have the recorded, my recorded audiobook versions of things for that. So it seems like a lot of you really enjoyed that chapter, which is fantastic. Sorry, I'm like a bit tickly today on my face. But yes, seems like we enjoyed that very much. But yeah, Mama Fox says distortion is good. I did sort of think that as well. I as long as it wasn't sort of unpleasant, like completely unpleasant to listen to, you kind of like, ow, that's just not nice. Then if there's a little bit of distortion and a bit of maybe that would add a little metallic sound to it almost. And Roald Dahl is definitely emphasizing that she is shrieking and shouting like at the top of her voice. And goodness knows what other people in that hotel must think, right? Is this completely soundproofed, or is this some magical screaming that only resonates within that hall? I don't know, but I would be concerned if I could hear that blasting out the doors and through the ceiling. There you go. Wolf, your hamster is called Voldemort. That is fantastic. Definitely easier than calling him he that shall not be named, for sure. You're very welcome, Laurie. Thanks very much. Oh, is that right? Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember that, Olivia. I'm not the die-hard Harry Potter fan that some of you are. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the books, and the movies are good fun and everything, but like I've said a few times, I was really rediscovering the books when narrating them. I'd not read them since I was a child or a teenager or whatever, so there are a lot of details like what you've just mentioned there, Olivia, that I've completely forgotten, I must say. Yeah, I'm not surprised it bothered you, Shannon. It's supposed to be a little bit disturbing, to say the least. I thought it was good fun. Yeah, you don't want to get bored of it, I suppose, Katie. But yeah, then there's people like Tora who have said they've listened to some of those Harry Potter audiobooks about 13, 14 times, and there's certain people on YouTube commenting, in the YouTube comments saying that they've listened to Secret Garden and other things like countless times, so it's really cool. Thanks very much, Colour Brights. Yeah, like I said, I've got a couple of audiobooks on Audible. There's a website for Audible called ACX, which is Audiobook Creation Exchange, and you can make a profile on there, upload samples, and just wait and hope that those samples are found by authors looking for narrators for their project, and that they offer you an audition, that they basically ask if you'd be interested in auditioning. Or there are auditions up and available. So there are projects up that you can audition for and just see what happens. But I found that the quality of books available on Audible that are open for public auditions is really poor at the moment. I was looking at it a couple of times last week after a bit of a break from looking at that website, and I was uploading a few samples and things. And honestly, the standard wasn't great when I'd last checked it, like a year previously. So I just don't know where the kind of like good middle level gigs are at the moment. I get the feeling that some people are going away from Audible. Maybe they're going privately, contacting people directly. I don't know. Maybe other platforms as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, I was really disappointed to see that there was just a lot of junk on there. Like, I'm not meaning to offend any authors. Like, I just mean there was sort of a lot of like spam filler sort of stuff, like adverts for auditions that just didn't even look genuine. I just can't really understand what's going on there. I feel like someone from Amazon needs to sort of moderate what content is uploaded on that audition platform, because it's there was maybe 1 in 30 audition profiles or whatever that I would even look at, never mind consider auditioning for. So so it's super tough to find these professional gigs and audition for them, and some of them, like I mentioned before, you're only paid for sales, and it's a very small percentage of the commission that you get as well. And then there are some gigs out there, like when I was auditioning for Archer and Zoe, and the Bert one, they were like a little bit more established authors, and they were offering a fixed rate, so you do get paid regardless of sales. And those auditions went really, really well, but I wasn't fortunate enough to bag either of them that time. But yeah, like when I was looking this time, there wasn't anything really that I was so keen on auditioning for. As at least a year ago, the quality I think was worse than 2 years ago, but there was still, like the Bert book, Archer and Zoe book, and there was a few others that were good quality and things. So, we'll have to see. Yeah, I wish that too, Madeleine, and that's really lovely to hear. And thanks. It's a hell of a compliment. Thank you. I wished a million times that they would give me at least an opportunity to audition for something. But, I spoke to someone at Pottermore, I had spoken to someone at Penguin, Random House, and now I've spoken to someone at C.S. Lewis Company, I've spoken to someone at Macmillan, the real big dogs of the industry, HarperCollins technically, although I was struggling to really get through to someone relevant. I kept just getting sort of sent round in a loop of customer service helplines and stuff. And yeah, they seem very happy to just do things how they do things. They don't seem to want to look to YouTube for fresh ideas. And I really thought that sort of the weight of a pretty successful channel with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of super positive comments on YouTube and Facebook and Patreon and all that would mean something to these publishing companies. They've got proof that people like what that person's doing, right? So if they're just looking to make money, it's going to be a lot cheaper to hire me than to hire some celebrity. But I guess that's what they want to do. But thanks ever so much for all the praise, guys. It means so much to me. Thank you. Tora says that you've listened to HP a worrying amount of times. I get that. Oh, and thanks, Wei Chen. That was very kind of you. Yeah, good point, Shannon. It could have been that. But he could hear it, but maybe it was just because he was so close. Who knows? Yeah, I missed the HP. I missed the HP as well. Oh, and welcome to the Russian friend joining the stream as well. Nice to see you. Welcome. You've joined in after a couple of hours. So you've missed a bit, but don't you worry. You can always watch the replay. Alright, shall we have one last chapter of Witches? Oh, thanks, Shannon. That's very kind. Let's have one last chapter of Witches, and we'll call it a day for today. We've been on for a couple of hours, but we will be back tomorrow. What would you like to hear tomorrow? I think we'll have To Marry a Prince. I'm tempted to have some Pride and Prejudice again. I thought those first 3 chapters were good fun. I thought it went pretty well. It was nice. I thought the live reading worked pretty well. I know there's, I've been keen to start some George Orwell, and I know a couple of you have thought that was a nice idea. Of course, we can maybe have some more Witches tomorrow. We can maybe have some more James Herriot tomorrow. And if there's anything else that you're missing that we've had on the book club before, let me know. Hello there, David. Welcome. Bukowski's work. You're gonna have to let me in there. I'm not sure who you're referring to. I'm sorry if I'm missing something. But welcome to the stream, David. Nice to hear from you. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I guess I do owe you a bit of a sing-song. I guess I do. True, Olivia. Kids can hear higher tones. That is true. So yeah, we're definitely going to have some To Marry a Prince tomorrow, for sure. And Lynette's backing me up on Pride and Prejudice. Logan says 1984. A nice Bowling for Soup reference there, Logan. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that would be fun to start as well. You've got me thinking about that troll song again now. It is fun, this. I don't think my live singing is so good. And I was listening back to it after the stream the other day, like the sing-along stream that we'd had the other day. And it's fun, but this microphone, or if it's something to do with the settings, I don't understand. But on my regular recordings, I think the microphone quality is excellent, and a lot of people mention that they like the quality. But when I'm streaming, there's a sort of weird feedback that I notice sometimes, like a bit of a clicking, popping thing. And it's definitely not that it's set with the gain too high, because when I look at the little what's-a-majig, or is it? I don't know. But like when I look at the live monitoring here, it very rarely goes into the the red. It's like often green, like touching on the yellow. But maybe the gain is too high. I don't know, because like I've turned it down considerably compared to the level that I record at normally. But maybe it is just too high. Like, do you guys notice the popping? And do you notice, if you do hear the popping, do you notice if it's when I'm speaking louder, or is it just seemingly at random? Because it really bothered me, that, I must admit, when I was listening back to the songs just briefly in the weekend. Yeah, you know me. No, but seriously, when I was listening back to it and listening to the Tom Bombadil, and in my head, like, I'd sung that quite nicely, and it was just kind of cute. And then listening back, I was like, "Oh man, really? Is it really interfering like that?" Oh, so you say you're not even hearing it, Katie? Yeah, the gain. If I show you this, so this is like your sound recording platform, which plugs into the computer and into the microphone. I can't pull it any further than this, but this is a decent little device, and you've got a little dial here which adjusts how much the microphone picks up. So when I'm recording normally, I've also got my recording software as well, and you can alter it there. So to be fair, I do lower that a little bit. So this will be at 100%, and that's more like 70%. But normally I have the gain like this. So I thought that I'd adjusted it enough. But maybe it is just like cutting slightly. Don't know. Oh, do you want to come up here, Wolf? It sounds like you're directing the stream. I like the chat. But yeah, maybe it's like just slightly too high. I just need to rely on you to let me know if it's too quiet. If I turn it down a little bit, I don't want it to be too quiet, because that's kind of frustrating as well. It's just, yeah, it's a shame if you're putting your heart and soul into something and then you listen back and the microphone is struggling or something. But it could just be my settings, I don't know. But yeah, this little troll song, it's good fun. I feel like you need just a little bit of the context as well for those of you that are not familiar. But Frodo has been having a real bad time of things. He's basically mortally wounded at this point. But they're trying to keep his spirits up, and Strider / Aragorn as a ranger, as the Dunedain, like a legend, basically. He's quite the healer. He doesn't quite have the magic of Elrond or so, but he's trying his best to prevent Frodo from succumbing to this dark wounded by the Witch King, or the leader of the Nazgul, the Ringwraiths, the Black Riders. So Frodo is a tough little cookie as well, to be honest. And he's feeling a little bit better. They've been resting a little bit in the sunshine. And they've come across some seemingly stone or petrified trolls. Seems very odd, as if they're just statues. At first, like, someone's startled and thinks that it's actually a living troll, until they realize that they're not moving at all. They're out in the broad daylight, which these sorts of mountain trolls cannot stand. and one of them, as Strider notices, even has an old bird's nest behind his ear, which would be a most unusual ornament for a live troll. And so they're having a little bit of food under the shadow of the troll's large legs. And Mary says, "Will somebody give us a bit of a song, while the sun is high? We haven't had a song or a tale for days." "Not since Weathertop," said Frodo. The others looked at him. "Don't worry about me," he added. "I feel much better, but I don't think I could sing. Perhaps Sam could dig something out of his memory." "Come on, Sam," said Merry. "There's more stored in your head than you let on about." "I don't know about that," said Sam. "But how would this suit? It ain't what I call proper poetry, if you understand me. Just a bit of nonsense. But these old images here brought it to my mind." Standing up, with his hands behind his back, as if he was at school, he began to sing to an old tune. Troll sat alone on his seat of stone and munched and mumbled a bare old bone. For many a year he had gnawed it near, for meat was hard to come by. Done by, gone by, in a cave in the hills he dwelt alone, and meat was hard to come by. Up came Tom with his big boots on, said he to Troll, "Pray what is yon? For it looks like the shin of mine Uncle Tim, as should be a lying in graveyard. Caveyard, paveyard, this many a year has Tim been gone, and I thought he were lying in graveyard." "My lad," said Troll, "this bone I stole, but what be bones that lie in a hole? Thine uncle was dead as a lumper lead, afore I found his shin bone. Tin bone, thin bone, he can spare a share for a poor old troll, for he don't need his shin bone." Said Tom, "I don't see why the likes of thee, with that axe in lee, should go making free with the shank of the shin of my father's kin, so hand the old bone over. Rover, trover, though dead he be, it belongs to he, so hand the old bone over. For a couple of pins," says Troll and grins, "I'll eat thee too, and gnaw thy shins. A bit of fresh meat will go down sweet, I'll try my teeth on thee now. He now, see now, I'm tired of gnawing all bones and skins, I've a mind to dine on thee now." But just as he thought his dinner was caught, he found his hands had hold of naught. Before he could mind, Tom slipped behind and gave him the boot to larn him. Warn him, darn him, a bump of the boot on the seat Tom thought would be the way to larn him. But harder than stone is the flesh and bone of a troll that sits in the hills alone. As well set your boot to the mountain's root, for the seat of a troll don't feel it. Peel it, heel it. Old Troll laughed when he heard Tom groan, and he knew his toes could feel it. Tom's leg is game since home he came, and his bootless foot is lasting lame. But Troll don't care, and he's still there with the bone he boned from its owner. Donor, boner, Troll's old seat is still the same, and the bone he boned from its owner. Well, that's a warning to us all, laughed Mary. "It is as well you used a stick and not your hand, Strider."
"Where did you come by that, Sam?" asked Pippin. "I've never heard those words before."
Sam muttered something inaudible. "It's out of his own head, of course," said Frodo. "I am learning a lot about Sam Gamgee on this journey. First, he was a conspirator. Now he's a jester. He'll end up by becoming a wizard or a warrior."
"I hope not," said Sam. "I don't want to be neither."
And there's the troll song. It's very silly. I hope you enjoyed it, though. It's very silly. And obviously, it's supposed to be sort of in Sam's voice, so it's not my regular singing voice or whatever. It's supposed to be little Sam Gamgee standing up and having his best to put a smile on their faces. Oh, and hello to Mango. Nice to see you. And hello to Gavin, another Australian in the stream today. Great stuff. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very nice to see you. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of very silly faces there. Yeah. But it's a silly song. It's a silly song. There's some more serious poems and songs throughout The Lord of the Rings. But this one is a little bit lighter. Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Wow, Logan's got snow. The weather's all over the place. Very strange. So yeah, that was the troll song from The Fellowship of the Ring, Book 1. Good fun. And I'm gonna have another chapter of The Witches in just a second as well. I was just looking at the song in chapter 7, just seeing if I could remember the tune, because I was struggling last week because I'd been looking at a number of songs and then got the tunes all mixed up in my head. But yeah, just trying to remember how I'd gone about the tune. I do like this, but it's like I'm almost a little bit too embarrassed to try and sing this because like I really, 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 really went for it in chapter 7 when I recorded that, and live. I don't know. It's a bit scary because like I was, like I said, sort of singing more truly rather than a more melodic poem, but I really enjoyed this one. I think I'm going to mess up the tune as well if I try it, but I can maybe try a more gentler version or something, just for fun. And then we'll have another chapter of The Witches. I feel like I've got the wrong bit in my head at the start, though. When evening in the showers grew such a journey long with a... When evening... Yeah, that's how it starts, right? When evening in the Shire was grey, his footsteps on the hill were heard. Before the dawn he went away. I know, but that's the second bit. That's the... With dwarf and hobbit, elves and men, with mortal and immortal folk, with bird on bough and beast in den, in their own secret tongues he spoke. A deadly sword, a healing hand, a back that bent beneath its load, a trumpet voice, a burning brand, a weary pilgrim on the road. A lord of wisdom throned he sat, swift in anger, quick to laugh, an old man in a battered hat who leaned upon a thorny staff. He stood upon the bridge alone, and fire and shadow both defied. His staff was broken on the stone, in Khazad-dûm his wisdom died. But yeah, I was struggling to remember how it started. When evening in the Shire was grey, his footsteps on the hill were heard. Before the dawn he went on journey. I need to listen to the beginning again. When evening in the Shire was grey, his footsteps on the hill were heard. Before the dawn he went away. Yeah, I need to listen to the start again. It's annoying. It's annoying. Oh, and hello to Lightweaver. Welcome to the stream. I've not seen you here before. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you. Da dee dum da da dee da da. Okay. We've had some song time. So, moving on to chapter 8 of The Witches. Oh, don't you worry, Shannon. You just come back when you can. On journey long without a word, from Wilderland to western shore, from northern waste to southern hill, through dragon lair and hidden door, and dark. It's a very sad little song as well, though. Bless Frodo. Missing him badly. Poor, poor, poor Gandalf. Yeah, it's just my own melodies, Ju Tang. There is a recording of Tolkien singing Galadriel's second song in Farewell to Lorien, chapter 8 of book 2. But yeah, all the tunes are just my own creation. So Maria and I didn't use Tolkien's tune. He sings it. Well, you can check it out if you stick it into YouTube. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. But yeah, people have asked me about where do I get the tunes from, and it's a mix of influences. You know, sometimes I listen to some folk songs of different origins, or yeah, just Google about a little bit, and sometimes just a little tune comes to my head, and maybe it's got some influence from some children's nursery rhyme or a Christmas song or who knows what. You know what I mean? It can be a mishmash of all sorts of different things. Yeah. You wanted more sing-songs, Katie? I'm gonna jump in to chapter 8 of The Witches. That's the plan. That's the plan. And thank you again to all of you being here today. Great to see you in the chat. It was a slow start today. Oh, I thought I was going to have to change which chapter we're listening to, but I put chapter 7 and 8. So, but this is chapter 8, of course. But yeah, it was a slow start in the stream, and then things have kicked off pretty nicely. So. Thanks, guys. Okay, so. Oh, yeah, there was a couple of other pictures that I missed as well. There's the gloves coming off and the claw-like hands beneath. Thank you, camera, for focusing. Appreciate that. And then there's the very odd square toeless feet crushed into those pointy heels. I kind of briefly tried to show this as well whilst I was reading. She's a mess. From this to this. Quite the contrast. So, last chapter reading for today, but I will be back to tomorrow. I will be back in the Foxy Book Club approximately same time tomorrow, so do come and join me. Yeah, I bet, Mango, yeah. I'm sure that's something many can relate to. Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker.
Children are revolting, screamed the Grand High Witch. We will wipe them all away. We will scrub them off the face of the earth. We will flush them down the drain.
Yes, yes, chanted the audience. Wipe them away! Scrub them off the earth! Flush them down the drain!
Children are foul and filthy, thundered the Grand High Witch.
They are,
chorused the English witches.
They are foul and filthy.
Children are dirty and stinky, screamed the Grand High Witch.
Dirty and stinky, dirty and stinky,
cried the audience, getting more and more worked up. Children are smelling of dogs' droppings, screeched the Grand High Witch.
Pooh!
cried the audience.
Pooh! Pooh! Pooh!
They are worse than dogs' droppings, screeched the Grand High Witch. Dogs' droppings is smelling like violets and primroses compared with children.
Violets and primroses,
chanted the audience. They were clapping and cheering almost every word spoken from the platform. The speaker seemed to have them completely under her spell. To talk about children is making me sick, screamed the Grand High Witch. I am feeling sick even thinking about them. Fetch me a basin. The Grand High Witch paused and glared at the mass of eager faces in the audience. They waited, wanting more. So now, the Grand High Witch barked. So now, I am having a plan. I am having a giganticus plan for getting rid of every single child in the whole of England. The witches gasped. They gaped. They turned and gave each other gowlish grins of excitement. Yes! thundered the Grand High Witch. We shall fish them and swallow them, and we shall make to disappear every single smelly little brat in England in one stroke.
Whoopee!
cried the witches, clapping their hands.
You are brilliant! Oh, your grandness, you are fantabulous!
Shut up and listen, snapped the Grand High Witch. Listen very carefully, and let us not be having any muck-ups. The audience leaned forward, eager to learn how this magic was going to be performed. Each and every one of you, thundered the Grand High Witch, is to go back to your hometowns immediately and resign from your jobs. Resign, give notice, retire.
We will,
they cried.
We will resign from our jobs.
And after you have resigned from your jobs, the Grand High Witch went on, each and every one of you will be going out and will be buying. She paused.
What will we be buying?
They cried.
Tell us, O brilliant one, what is it we shall be buying?
Sweet shops, they cried.
We are
Oh, I see, sorry.
Sweet shops,
they cried.
We are going to buy sweet shops. What a frumptious wheeze!
Each of you will be buying for herself a sweet shop. You will be buying the very best and most respectable sweet shops in England.
We will! We will! They answered. Their dreadful voices were like a chorus of dentists' drills all grinding away together.
I am wanting no twopenny, halfpenny, crummy like tobacco-selling newspaper sweet shops,
shouted the Grand High Witch.
I am wanting you to get only the very best shops, filled up high with piles and piles of luscious sweets and tasty chocks.
The best, they cried. We shall buy the best sweet shops in town.
You will be having no trouble in getting what you want, shouted the Grand High Witch, because you will be offering 4 times as much as a shop is worth, and nobody is refusing an offer like that. Money is not a problem to us witches, as you know very well. I have brought with me 6 trunks stuffed full of English banknotes, all new and crisp. And all of them, she added with a fiendish leer, all of them homemade. The witches in the audience grinned, appreciating this joke. At that point, one foolish witch got so excited at the possibilities presented by owning a sweet shop that she leapt to her feet and shouted, "The children will come flocking to my shop, and I will feed them poison sweets and poison chocks and wipe them all out like weasels." The room became suddenly silent. I saw the tiny body of the Grand High Witch stiffen, and then go rigid with rage. "Who spoke?" she shrieked. "It was you! You over there!" The culprit sat down fast and covered her face with her clawed hands. "You blithering bumpkin!" screeched the Grand High Witch. "You brainless bog vumper! Are you not realizing that if you are going round poisoning little children, you will be caught in 5 minutes flat? Never in my life am I hearing such a bosh, walloping suggestion coming from a witch." The entire audience cowered and shook. I'm quite sure they all thought, as I did, that the terrible white-hot sparks were about to start flying again. Curiously enough, they didn't. "If such a tom-fiddling idea is all you can be coming up with," thundered the Grand High Witch, "then it is no wonder England is still swarming with rotten little children." There was another silence. The Grand High Witch glared at the witches in the audience. "Do you not know," she shouted at them, "that we witches are working only with magic?" "We know, your grandness," they all answered. "Of course we know."
The Grand High Witch grated her bony gloved hands against each other and cried out,
So, each of you is owning a magnificent sweet shop. The next move is that each of you will be announcing in the window of your shop that on a certain day, you will be having a great gala opening with free sweets and chocks to every child.
That will bring them in, the greedy little brutes, cried the audience. They'll be fighting to get through the doors.
Next,
continued the Grand High Witch,
you will prepare yourselves for this great gala opening by filling every choc and every sweet in your shop with my very latest and greatest magic formula. This is known as Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker.
Delayed Action Mouse Maker, they chanted. She's done it again! Her grandness has concocted yet another of her wondrous magic child killers. How do we make it, oh brilliant one?
Exercise patience,
answered the Grand High Witch.
First, I am explaining to you how my Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker is working. Listen carefully.
We are listening, cried the audience, who were now jumping up and down in their chairs with excitement.
Delayed Action Mouse Maker is a green liquid, explained the Grand High Witch, and one droplet in each choc or sweet will be quite enough. So here is what happens. Child eats choc which has in it Delayed Action Mouse Maker liquid. Child goes home feeling fine. Child goes to bed still feeling fine. Child wakes up in the morning still feeling okay. Child goes to school still feeling fine. Formula, you understand, is delayed action and is not working yet.
We understand, oh brainy one, cried the audience. But when does it start working?
It is starting to work at exactly 9 o'clock, when the child is arriving at school, shouted the Grand High Witch triumphantly. Child arrives at school. Delayed Action Mouse Maker immediately starts to work. Child starts to shrink. Child is starting to grow fur. Child is starting to grow tail. All is happening in precisely 26 seconds. After 26 seconds, child is not a child any longer. It is a mouse.
A mouse, cried the witches. What a frumptuous thought.
Classrooms will all be swarming with mice, shouted the Grand High Witch. Chaos and pandemonium will be reigning in every school in England. Teachers will be hopping up and down. Women teachers will be standing on desks and holding up skirts and yelling, "Help, help, help."
They will, cried the audience.
And what, shouted the Grand High Witch, is happening next in every school?
Tell us, they cried. Tell us, O brainy one. The Grand High Witch stretched her stringy neck forward and grinned at the audience, showing 2 rows of pointed teeth, slightly blue. She raised her voice louder than ever and shouted,
"Mousetraps is coming out!"
"Mousetraps!" cried the witches.
"And cheese!"
shouted the Grand High Witch.
"Teachers is all rushing and running out and getting mousetraps and baiting them with cheese and putting them down all over the school. Mice is nibbling cheese. Mousetraps is going off. All over school, mousetraps is going snappity-snap. And mouse heads is rolling across the floors like marbles. All over England, in every school in England, noise of snapping mouse traps will be heard."
At this point, the disgusting old Grand High Witch began to do a sort of witch's dance up and down the platform, stamping her feet and clapping her hands. The entire audience joined in the clapping and the foot stamping. They were making such a tremendous racket that I thought surely Mr. Stringer would hear it and come banging at the door. But he didn't. Then, above all the noise, I heard the voice of the Grand High Witch screaming out some sort of an awful gloating song.
"Down with children, do them in, boil their bones and fry their skin, bish them, squish them, bash them, mash them, break them, shake them, slash them, smash them, offer chocks with magic powder, say eat up, then say it louder, cram them full of sticky eats, send them home still guzzling sweets, and in the morning little fools go marching off to separate schools. A girl feels sick and goes all pale, she yells, 'Hey, look, I've grown a tail!' A boy who's standing next to her screams, 'Help! I think I'm growing fur!' Another shouts, 'We looks like freaks! There's whiskers growing on every cheeks!' A boy who was extremely tall cries out, 'What's wrong? I'm growing small!' 4 tiny legs begin to sprout from everybody round about, and all at once, all in a trice, they are no children, only mice!" In every school is mice galore, all running round the schoolroom floor. And all the poor demented teachers is yelling, "Who are these creatures?" They stand upon the desks and shout, "Get out, you filthy mice, get out!" Will someone fetch some mouse traps, please? And don't forget to bring the cheese. Now mouse traps come and every trap goes snippety snip and snappy snap. The mouse traps have a powerful spring. The springs go crack and snap and ping. Is lovely noise for us to hear, is music to a witch's ear. Dead mice is every place around, piled 2 feet deep upon the ground, with teachers searching left and right, but not a single child in sight. The teachers cry, "What's going on? Oh, where have all the children gone?" Is 9:30, and as a rule, they're never late as this for school. Poor teachers don't know what to do. Some sit and read, and just a few amuse themselves throughout the day by sweeping all the mice away. And all us witches shout hooray! It was the best, oh grand high witch.
What a lovely song. I'm sure she's been practicing that for years. Auditioning to all the finest publishers, music producers in all the land. She makes YouTube videos. Everybody tells her she's good. All the witches in the comment section say she's the best witch ever. But the music producers, they do not sign her. They strike her down. And this is what happens. This is what you turn her into. She was probably a very nice lady once upon a time. But now she is nasty. Very, very, very nasty. Nasty, stinking hobbitses. Here's the teacher sweeping up the dead mice/children. Oh dear. Oh dearie, 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 dear. Not good. Not good at all, it seems. But what can one do? The Grand High Witch has unmasked herself, it seems. Rather a nasty chap, after all. Good. I dropped a book, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed that very, very, very silly chapter 8 of one of Roald Dahl's many, many wonderful books. Yeah, it was made into a film. I honestly don't remember who features in it, though. You're mentioning Angelica Houston. But yeah, so we got a bit of extra sing-song time there of a sort. Oh dear. We had Sam's song, we had a little bit of Frodo's song. And then that madness. It was absolutely crazy. I think Smeagol would like it very much. She's very nasty.
In fact, too nasty for Smeagol. More Gollum would like it very much.
Okay. I'm glad you've enjoyed it today. You were saying you've got your money's worth. Thanks, peeps. It's good fun. It's very easy to get very, very carried away with Roald Dahl. It's hard to keep it soothing and relaxing, but we had a gentle reading of If Only They Could Talk, right? And we had some rather calm chat and a little bit of singing. So it's been a nice mixed bag, and finish off with some, well, madness. Ah, thanks, Olivia. That's very kind. And thanks, Shannon and Claire and Jutang and Katie and all the rest of you. I really appreciate it. Hello, Laurie, with your little fox face. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Thanks ever so much, everybody. I'm going to wrap things up for today, but please do join me tomorrow. It would be absolutely wonderful to see you all again. No, you're very welcome, Claire. Thanks ever so much. But so tomorrow we can have To Marry a Prince, and then maybe some Pride and Prejudice, maybe some more Witches. Let's see how we feel. See what the mood of the room is like tomorrow. If you are well behaved, you may get 3 readings. But at the very least, we will have 2. We just need to decide exactly what that will be. But we'll definitely have some To Marry a Prince. Really enjoyed those last 2 chapters, and a lot of you seem to have been enjoying Prince as well. So let's do it tomorrow on the Foxy Back Club. Thanks ever so much, everybody, for joining me. I hope you have a good day or night or morning wherever you are. We've had a lovely range of countries represented and time zones represented today. Absolutely fantastic. Let's see if we can muster a similar audience tomorrow. I think I'll start about the same time. Hopefully it worked quite well. Like I said, it was just quiet in the very, very beginning, and then we got the usual kind of crowd, which is great. So this was approximately 3 p.m. my time, like Central European time. So yeah, I think it could work. Maybe an hour earlier. I don't know. I don't know if that's too early. Last time we've been having it just ever so slightly later. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And if you're following me on Discord, you get the heads up. As soon as I decide when I'm streaming, you will know when I'm streaming. If you're following me on Discord, the link is in the video description. Someone said, thanks, Laurie. Yeah, Lynette said how many chapters left in The Witches. It looks like we're nearly halfway. So let's say there's at least 8. Must be about that. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's some very short chapters. But we're about halfway through the book. And if there's a couple of very, very short ones, because a couple of these were quite long, weren't they? I mean, both of these actually were. For a children's book or a Roald Dahl book, the first one was a little longer than the average, I think. And then the second one, I suppose, was about average, but the song made things a little bit crazier. But yeah, if there's a couple of short ones next time we read it, I'll just do 3 chapters or something instead of 2 chapters. So. All right. Yeah, there's got to be some way to try and get you to behave. The promise of extra reading might just be it. No, I don't know that one, Claire, actually. Esperanza Rising. I'll try and remember to look it up. Yeah, not one I'm familiar with, but thank you for the recommendation. I was going to ask you what it was about, but that could start a big conversation. But thanks so much for joining, Professor Red Fox. Yeah, that's the thing. It might be a little bit early for some of you over in the Americas if I go an hour early, but let's say I aim for the same time as today, and we'll just take it from there. Yeah. Oh, hello, Mabel's Beat. Welcome, welcome. Sorry to see you're only just joining as I'm saying goodbye, but please do watch the replay, and if you can leave me a thumbs up on the video and a comment if there's something that you've particularly enjoyed or that you'd like to hear on the book club, that would be really, really cool. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for today. I really hope to see you tomorrow. You take care of yourselves. You need to go to bed, Shannon. You're always telling me to go to sleep when I'm on Discord a bit too late at night. It sounds like you need to take that advice. I don't think you've even been to bed yet. Look after yourself. Oh, right. Okay, Claire. I might find that a little bit tricky if I was narrating it, but reading it, it would be okay. I'm sure I'd figure it out. But I'll give it a Google. Foxy friends. Yeah. All right. Oh, I was just thinking of the Foxy Book Club song, but with Foxy fans forever. No, it's been... I'm just being silly now. Okay, everybody. Take care until tomorrow, and come and hang with me for a couple of hours and we'll have some more reading. Yeah, and I'll go rest my throat, I think, for the rest of the night. Eat some lozenges. Have a cup of tea. Alright, everybody. Read to you soon. You too, Lynette. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye, Fox fans. See you tomorrow.